Every morning, long before the sun rises above the old tiled roofs of our town, I wake up to the hum of ovens and the quiet rhythm of work that fills the little bakery on Rue des Ormes. The air is always warm there, sweet with sugar dust, sharp with yeast. Sometimes I think that smell has seeped into my skin, like I've become part of it, baked into the walls, into the counters, into every loaf that passes under my hands. I'm 21, still living at home with my parents in the same narrow house I grew up in. It's the kind with creaky stairs and faded wallpaper that smells faintly of coffee. My father works at the post office. My mother teaches music lessons to children. They're good people, steady people. They like that I have a job I enjoy, even if it's not what they once imagined for me. Sometimes I think they still picture me going back to school, maybe studying art or languages. But when I tell them I'm happy where I am, they smile politely, as if happiness were a phase. The bakery is small but busy, and I love it. The morning rush, the rhythm of orders, the way customers' faces soften when they hold something warm and fresh. It makes me feel part of something simple and good. I wear a black PVC leather apron every day, long enough to cover me from chest to knee. It's shiny and easy to wipe clean when the flour gets everywhere, which it always does. My hair, long, blonde, and curly, usually ends up tied into a bun at the back of my head. Otherwise, it would be chaos. I've had this hair for as long as I can remember. It's been my pride and sometimes my burden. Customers compliment it. Strangers have asked if it's real. But I've always thought of it as a curtain between me and the world. Something to hide behind. That evening started like any other. The day had been long, full of orders for cakes and pastries because of the weekend festival. When I finally closed the till, the bells on the door chimed softly behind me as I stepped out into the cool air. I had my work apron folded neatly in one hand, my bag slung over the other. The streets were quiet, washed in the dim orange glow of old street lamps. Somewhere far off, a violin was playing, someone practicing with their window open. I took the long way home that night, through the square and down the narrow street lined with little shops. Most were closed. Their shutters were pulled down, and their signs swung gently in the evening breeze. But halfway down, I noticed something different. A chair, a mirror, and a red PVC barber cape fluttering faintly in the wind under the yellow light of a single lamp. A street barber. He was older, maybe in his 40s, with kind eyes and a trimmed beard. He was packing up his tools, but looked up when I passed. "Bonsoir," he said, smiling. "You look like you've had a long day." I smiled back politely, meaning to keep walking. But then he gestured toward the chair. "Would you like to sit for a moment? Maybe try something new? A small change can lighten a heavy day." I laughed, shaking my head. "No, thank you. My hair's long enough. It would take you all night." He shrugged playfully. "Sometimes that's the best kind of haircut." I waved and walked on. But halfway down the street, I slowed. The air was cool, the sound of the violin distant. I looked at my reflection in a dark shop window. My tired eyes, the loose strands of hair framing my face, the faint dusting of flour still on my sleeve. Something inside me stirred. Maybe it was the fatigue, or maybe it was the strange calm of the night, but I turned around. When I came back, the barber seemed unsurprised. He gestured to the chair with a knowing smile. "I thought you might." "I don't know why," I said softly. "I just felt like coming back." He nodded. "That's how change begins." I hesitated, glancing at the red PVC cape draped over the armrest. It caught the light like liquid, deep and gleaming. My heart was racing, though I couldn't have said why. I'd never done anything impulsive in my life. Not really. But tonight, something about the empty street and the hum of silence made me feel like I could. I sat down. The chair was cool against my back. The barber lifted the red cape and wrapped it around me with gentle hands, fastening it at the back of my neck. It was smooth and heavy, the kind of material that catches every glimmer of light. I could see myself in the small mirror he had propped up on a stand. My face looked pale, my hair loose now and spilling over my shoulders. The barber leaned on the chair's arm. "Would you like to choose your style?" he asked with a teasing glint in his eyes. "Or would you rather let someone else choose?" I sometimes let people passing by make the decision. It adds a little mystery. I laughed nervously. "That sounds terrifying." "Then maybe that's the point," he said. I looked around. A few people were walking by. Couples, a man with a dog, two teenage girls laughing. Something in me wanted to surrender to the moment, to stop trying to control everything. "All right," I said. "Let the audience choose." He raised his eyebrows. "Are you sure?" I nodded, even though my heart was thudding. He turned to the small group that had gathered. "What should we do for her?" he asked, grinning. "Something bold, perhaps?" There were a few murmurs, a few laughs. Then one of the girls said something that made the others gasp and giggle. The barber smiled, amused. He turned back to me. "They say bald." For a heartbeat, the world stopped. I stared at my reflection, the long curls, the familiar frame of who I'd always been. My mouth went dry. "That's extreme," I whispered. "It is," he said gently. "But sometimes extreme is exactly what we need to feel alive." I looked at myself again, at the woman who'd never done anything without thinking it through twice, who'd always stayed safe. And suddenly I realized how tired I was of being her. "All right," I said quietly. "Do it." The barber studied me for a moment as if making sure I truly meant it. Then he nodded. "Close your eyes if you want." The air around me shifted. The soft click of the clippers, the low hum as they came to life. I felt the vibration in the air before I felt it on my skin. My breath caught. The first pass was a whisper, a sound, a movement, a release. I felt a strange lightness, like the air itself was different around me. Each sound, each breath of the clippers seemed to draw something out of me, something I hadn't realized I was holding. Fear, expectation, history. The weight of all the times I'd said, maybe later, not yet, someday. I kept my eyes closed. The night sounds faded until there was only the quiet rhythm, the hum, the sense of surrender. I thought about mornings at the bakery, about the way my reflection had always seemed caught between girl and woman, about the soft cage of routine I'd built around myself. And as that cage fell away, so did everything that wasn't me. When I finally opened my eyes, the mirror caught the light just right. My face, bare, new, unguarded, stared back. The red cape gleamed around me like a stage curtain after the final act. I hardly recognized the woman in the reflection, and yet she looked more like me than I ever had. The barber smiled softly. "How do you feel?" I swallowed hard. "Like I can finally breathe." He nodded, unfastened the cape, and lifted it away with a sweeping motion. The night air brushed against my skin, cool and honest. I stood up slowly, feeling lighter. Not just physically, but entirely. The small crowd clapped softly, not mockingly, but almost reverently, as if they'd witnessed something sacred. I laughed, a sound that startled me with its freedom. I thanked the barber, pressed a few coins into his hand, and walked away down the quiet street. The walk home felt different. The streetlights seemed brighter. The sound of my shoes on the pavement echoed louder. The breeze felt like it was meeting me for the first time, not fighting through the curtain of hair that had always followed me. When I reached home, I stood for a long time outside the door. My reflection in the window pane was new, unfamiliar, but fearless. Inside, my parents were asleep. I slipped upstairs quietly, looked in the mirror again under the soft yellow light of my room, and smiled. I didn't regret it. Not for a second. The next morning, when I went to work, the customers did double takes. Some smiled, others looked surprised. My boss blinked in disbelief before saying, "Well, that's different." I laughed and tied on my black apron. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't pretending to be anyone else. The smell of bread, the warmth of the ovens, the simple rhythm of the day, all of it was the same. And yet everything had changed. Because I had.